Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, October 7. I'm Vashon Brown with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. The government will be spending almost $16 billion more than budgeted as it deals with the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark made the revelation in Parliament last evening, where he also said the government will continue to assist people who have lost their jobs during the pandemic.
The Finance Minister says the second supplementary estimate for the 2020-2021 financial year, which was tabled in Parliament on Tuesday, considers the continued impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on Jamaica and globally. The first supplementary estimate was crafted with an estimated decline in gross domestic product GDP of 5.1%. However, Dr. Nigel Clark says GDP is now estimated to decline by 7.9%.
This new forecast has informed development of the second supplementary estimates. Based on operations to date and the GDP forecast, revenue and grant inflows for the full fiscal year are now estimated to be $5.2 billion more than indicated in the first supplementary estimates.
Dr. Clark says given the prolonged and increasing impact of the pandemic, as well as the revenue forecast, the government has increased spending in a number of areas like health, education, and social welfare.
In summary, the second supplementary estimates proposes overall additional expenditure of $15.7 billion to generate a total expenditure budget of $853.7 billion, which is close to what it originally was.
The government is also trying to rev up the economy and keep people employed. It's why the Finance Minister says the capital expenditure component of the budget will be increased by $6 billion.
Of this amount, $4.6 billion will go towards the South Coast Highway Improvement Project. Mr. Speaker, as we look to scale public investments at this time, the quality of public investments matter. And we believe that the South Coast Highway Improvement Project meets the definition of the kind of public investment that catalyzes economic activity and jobs, which is precisely what we need at this time.
Speaking of jobs, Dr. Clark says the government will continue to assist people who have lost employment during the pandemic. As a result, the Holness administration will be extending some of the benefits under the CARE program.
Set Cash, which provides funds in the amount of $18,000 a month to persons who were employed before the COVID-19 pandemic and who still remain unemployed, as well as and extending that from to December. You'll recall that the last extension was to August. So now we'll be extending for the months of September, October, November, December.
He says the best cash component of the CARE program will also be extended.
That supports employment in the tourism sector by essentially providing that $18,000 a month to businesses who keep on their payroll persons who earn less than the income tax threshold.
Dr. Clark said the extension will cost $5 billion. He said $2.2 billion of that amount was previously approved but not used. The second supplementary estimates will go before the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee PAAC this Thursday.
The Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, has recommended that the opposition chairs the sessional committees of the House of Representatives. The decision, the PSOJ says, comes following a review and consultation with various stakeholders. In a release this morning, PSOJ President Keith Duncan said it's imperative the opposition chairs those committees to ensure that they provide the oversight function that was intended and is required from these committees. The private sector body further noted that sessional committees have the responsibility of ventilating government policy positions and projects and to bring those deliberations into the public space while providing oversight on behalf of the Jamaican citizenry. And the opposition is again defending its management of the oversight committees following the decision last week for government members to chair 4 of the 6 bodies. At a press conference before Tuesday's sitting of the House of Representatives, the opposition welcomed civil society groups' comments on the issue, again calling for the decision to be rolled back.
Opposition members again lashed out at the government's move to take over the chairing of Parliament's oversight committees. The government listed irregular meetings, with some meeting as few as 9 times in the past 5 years. but the opposition has fired back.
But the government's position on the change to the opposition chairing of committees has been disingenuous and unfair.
The members insist that the failure to meet was not the fault of the chairperson, but a failure of the entire parliament. Opposition finance spokesperson Mark Golding led the charge, arguing that the packed weekly schedule of parliament, cabinet meeting on Mondays, the House of Representatives on Tuesdays and some Wednesdays, the Senate on Fridays, and PAC and PAAC committees being given priority for 3 days is one of the main reasons the other committees hardly met.
The building itself only has one chamber. The other meeting rooms are not adequately spacious to accommodate sessional committee meetings with public sector staff coming to answer questions and the parliamentary staff who service the committee meetings being present.
Following the announcement by Leader of Government Business Edmund Bartlett and Prime Minister Andrew Holness, watchdog groups, including the National Integrity Action, condemned the move. Executive Director Professor Trevor Monroe also listed suggestions to address the concerns raised by the government.
There are reasonable recommendations coming from the NIA, which include the proposal for a backbench on the government side to be deputy chair. I think we will be prepared to discuss that, as also to establish a regular schedule for all the committees to meet.
It is naive and disingenuous to assume that a committee chaired by the government side is going to hold the government to account. We all know the nature of our politics. That will not happen.
A flooded house in Old Brayton, St. Catherine led to a verbal confrontation between political representatives on Tuesday. The mayor of Portmore and the caretaker for Southern St. Catherine squared off.
Politicians arguing at a flooded house in Old Brayton, Portmore, Tuesday.
The house has been passed and they never can see a vehicle lady in a 21 bucket ship. They never can see a vehicle.
This is the Portmore Mayor Leon Thomas and the JLP MP caretaker for Southern St. Catherine, Delroy Dobney. The tense exchange is about the reason the house is being flooded.
It's obvious that this house that is now flooded was built without any consideration to what was happening prior to, because the house is at least below the road level, which is already low. And as such, the rain is falling, and if the rain continues, the house is going to continue to be flooded. So something has to happen where the house is concerned.
We observed residents clearing passages at the back of the yard and at the side of the road to allow the water to flow away from the property. Residents in the meantime say incomplete roadworks nearby led to the flooding of the house. Councillor for the Brayton Division, Anthony Wint, says the roadwork was hampered by recent rainfall.
Phase 1 was completed and we started Phase 2. But while starting Phase 2, the weather started to change and it really hampered the progress of completing the second phase of the road repair.
Giovanni Dennis, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, business owners and residents of Richmond in St. Mary are calling for the National Works Agency NWA to repair a bridge to enable them to gain access to the area. They say the bridge has been closed for months and it's affecting their livelihoods.
This bridge is located along the bauxiting plant road. It's one of the main thoroughfares between Kingston and St. Mary. Now, 6 months ago, a hole in the bridge became a hazard to motorists, resulting in the National Works Agency, the NWA, closing the bridge for repairs. Since its closure, traffic has been redirected, and with a curfew imposed, business owners have been feeling the pinch.
People will not pay the extra amount of money to go to Highgate, so we do very little business here. Very little business. Added to that is the fact that we have to close at 7 o'clock because of COVID-19.
We've lost a lot of customers because of this. Some of them really who are really our real customers, they really do come around the long route, or they take their vehicle down to the Brockway and then they will take a taxi from there, come here. But it's costly.
And that's the major concern among residents, the cost to take alternative routes.
People who go to work, Highgate, all about, it costs them a lot of money, $400 per day. Where they know that everybody waiting to see what will happen and we don't hear anything about it.
The fare, the taximen, they hike the fare, so we would like the bridge to get going so we can have a regular route to travel again.
A long time we were there and we want the bridge to fix. Over 6 months now the bridge no fix. The man them start the work and stop. Right now we are suffer. Passenger them a ball say fear too dear. And we need that. We need the bridge more than anything because the alternative route bad. Bad. They say they fix it but they get back bad.
They are appealing to the NAA to address the issue.
The business people in Richmond needs your assistance. We need for you to even find some alternative. A Bailey Bridge can't take that amount of money, even to source it abroad. A few days and it should be here. And we could have an alternate system in the meantime.
Stephen Shaw, hurry up, get some money. If his money is the problem, get some money so we can get the bridge going. We need it.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
We now take a break on the midday news, but please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Continuing the news now. A warning this afternoon to teachers not to give up on students who fail exams. The warning comes on the heels of the recent CXC exams in which some students are challenging the failing grades they received from the regional body. Dwayne Anderson has more.
The controversy surrounding this year's sitting of the CXC and the Cape exams has not yet been resolved, with the regional body CXC still doing its probe into the questionable grades given to some students. But while that is happening, one local stakeholder is urging educators to be patient with students if they fail exams. Dr. Winsome Gordon, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Jamaica Teaching Council, did not address the regional exam specifically, but urged teachers not to write off students because of a few bad grades.
Students can repeat the lessons until they master the concepts. They can repeat examinations until they get 100%. Examination is now there to promote learning and not to punish and segregate. In time, all children will experience a measure of success in school.
She was speaking Monday evening during a virtual ceremony put on by the Ministry of Education to celebrate the performance of educators, especially during the pandemic. During the ceremony, teachers were encouraged to use whatever time they find during the pandemic to upgrade their skills, especially in mathematics and sciences. The opposition spokesperson on education, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, who also participated in the event, expressed concern about the future of many students who have no parental supervision at home during this period. For her, many students, especially the boys, relied on male school teachers to be a father figure.
For male teachers who have also made this a career of choice, thank you for being there. Thank you for stepping up. Because often you are the closest male relative that many of our students interact with on a daily basis. So thank you for showing the way, showing them what love looks like, showing them what can happen when individuals believe in them.
October 5 was celebrated as World Teachers' Day, and while many local educators did not get the usual Teachers' Day pampering, 20 principals and 80 teachers were singled out for special praise. Incidentally, Teachers' Day coincided with the resumption of public schools in Jamaica, a fact not lost on the Jamaica Teachers Association president, Jasford Gabriel.
Like so many others, you were not sure of the next step, but you dedicated, you led, and you learned to navigate the virtual platforms, thereby equipping you to continue in empowering our wonderful nation.
Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
Jamaica should get prepared for an expected increase in the mental health needs of children resulting from COVID-19 restriction. That warning from suicide expert Dr. Donovan Thomas. There have been at least 2 child suicides in Jamaica over the last month. 8-year-old Jasmine Keeling died in St. Catherine on Saturday, August 29, and on September 26, another 8-year-old girl, Naomi Jones, died in St. Catherine, in Commodore St. Catherine. Dr. Thomas believes that the number of child suicide could increase due to the increased isolation caused by COVID-19 restrictions, particularly among children below age 10.
the Bloomberg report as way back as May 8th says, the next COVID crisis is going to be a wave of suicide. So all of us need to prepare just in case that is really so. We have got to know the signs of the warning signs of suicide, and we have got to know what to do.
He's urging parents to listen more keenly to their children and help them develop problem-solving skills. He also advised them not to leave guns and drugs within easy reach. He was speaking this morning on TVJ's Smile Jamaica program.
One of the things that is going to help to build resilience is strong parental connection. So parents have got to be very deliberate in spite of the challenges that they are facing, in spite of their own needs, to look out for their own children and go beyond the call of duty to foster positive relationship with them. The research actually shows that when children have strong relationship with their parents, their resilience to suicide is even stronger after they have passed childhood years.
Now, in Parliament yesterday, the Health Minister announced a $20 million program to tackle mental health challenges caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Speaking of the coronavirus, 126 persons have died from COVID-19 in Jamaica. The Ministry of Health reported 3 more deaths from the respiratory illness. The deceased are a 67-year-old man from St. Anne, an 84-year-old woman from St. Mary, and an 88-year-old man from St. Catherine. Meanwhile, Jamaica recorded 82 new COVID-19 cases yesterday, pushing the case count to 7,191. Their ages range from 2 months to 87 years. There are 4,268 active cases of the virus in Jamaica. Kingston's Mayor Delroy Williams says the Kingston Harbour Coastal Project is expected to be completed within time and within budget. Mr. Williams says the project remains on course despite the negative impact of COVID-19.
We would have had some setbacks in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, but the contractors were able to recover some time. So as we are told that the project is still on time to complete sometime in April 2021. And we are also told that within budget.
According to Mayor Williams, the area is being designed to attract persons for recreational purposes.
Added to that now would be the added component of this area becoming now, as a result of this project, a recreational space and a space of leisure for our residents to come into and enjoy.
In the meantime, MP for Central Kingston, Donovan Williams, says the project will assist with the drainage problems affecting his constituency.
I welcome this project because what I've discovered is that so far it will assist the sanitation in my constituency, because a part of the project is drainage improvement, and that drainage improvement will also spin off to the constituency of Kingston Central and will affect the overall drainage system here, which is a very good thing.
The project is funded by the World Bank and being led by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF. And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's Health Report.
In the next edition of the Health Report, we'll look at recognizing and treating COVID-19 before it gets severe.
People who present too late to the hospitals often do not make it. And sometimes no matter what you do. No matter the level of care or the complexity of care or the sophistication of care that is made available to you, it becomes increasingly difficult for you to make it if your organs have been damaged.
That's the Health Report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's healthy living tip. Stay home as much as you can. Keep a safe distance. Wash hands often. Cover your cough. Sick? Call your medical doctor ahead.
News overseas now. Hurricane Delta continues moving toward the Gulf of Mexico. It made landfall this morning along the Yucatan Peninsula. More from the CNN.
Well, the very latest from the National Hurricane Center came over at 8 o'clock this morning. The storm is now down to 105 miles per hour. But at 5:45 Central Time, the storm made landfall. The first of 2 landfalls because we know there will be a landfall across the northern Gulf Coast. 110 miles per hour just to the south of the resort town of Cancun, Mexico. Quite a bit of damage coming out with some of the pictures here. We'll bring those pictures to you a little bit later. There's the storm right now, officially at 8 a.m., 105. A little bit of interaction with the Yucatan Peninsula and a breaking up of the eye just a little bit, bringing that wind speed down, although the pressures are up just a little bit as well. We'll still see surge 6 to 8 feet, maybe even 12 feet in some of these areas on the north side of the Yucatan, with that wind blowing in the same direction for a very long time. By Thursday at 1 o'clock, it's back to a Category 3. And then later on, as we move you back up here, by 1 a.m., we're back to almost a Category 4, right at 1:30, Category 4. That's why you see the number 4 there. And then onshore as a major hurricane during the day Friday. And then obviously making a lot of wind, making a lot of surge, and still the potential for this storm to get bigger because the water is still warm enough. Not as warm as we've been, but it's still warm.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashon Brown. Join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon.